Ooh, that is Rick Holt in the wall. Darren Schneider getting a little bit caught up in that. But hello everyone, welcome back to the GT Sport League here at Gavra Racing, and we're here for round 14 at Mount Panorama for the penultimate race of the season. It's been 16 weeks if you include the break weeks, but we are here and things are getting a little bit tense, a little bit close in the championship. The drivers has been wrapped up, but the constructors is still all to play for. And I'm actually joined by a co-commentator for tonight's race. But who is it for tonight?
Yes, hello everybody. Still down here, back at it again with another commentary with X92, going for X92. So yeah, it's a bit interesting one here at Mount Panorama, and thank you again for inviting me. It's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, definitely. It should be an interesting race. We've been at this track twice in the past, but only once have we done it in the dark, and it is returning again. You can see the headlights lighting up the track. There aren't many there's not many lights to light up this track, apart from the driver's headlights. We're here for quali, 18 minutes as usual. We've already got 15 left though. 3 minutes have been underway. Lap times, we're going to be seeing about 2-minute 1s, 2-minute 2s, I'd say, on the medium tyres. Probably more likely the high or low 2-minute, the low 2-minute 2s, or maybe a high 2-minute 1. I'll have to wait and see who's capable of pulling out those lap times. Someone who I think will be definitely someone to keep an eye out is Tiger Assassin, who we know he's quick at this track. He's shown it in the past, back in Season 2 when he picked up his first victory at the track. But also Play Dutchy, someone who's been challenging the entire season, a 3-time GT Sport champion. I reckon we're going to see a showdown between those two, a track that's really hard to overtake. It's definitely a matter of who gets pole and who can see it out from there.
Yeah, that is very true there, Natty. But yeah, we've had quite a close championship in the constructors, particularly between the BMCR guys and Dutchy and Bon Evil. So it's going to be an interesting one here. We just need to see who can come out on top. But a few people now making their way through the final corner, kicking it off. We do have Finn, who is about to set the lap time of the race, but obviously Dutchy is right behind there. So let's keep an eye out on these two. That is to make their way across the line. But like you said, 2-minute 1s, 2-minute 2s is what people are after, and here we go now. People are going to go across the line, and let's see what people can start off with. So we're aiming in the 2-minute 3s, 2-minute 2s here.
And it's Tiger who puts it on provisional pole, a high 2-minute 2.8, sorry, but it's beaten by his teammate Toussaint with a 2-minute 2.7 on the medium tyres. I think everyone is on the medium tyres for today's qualifying, and as the rules have been for the entirety of this season, you must start the race on whatever tyre you qualify on. Topster in for Thunder tonight goes up into 6th place, with Piero putting in a quick time, putting him in 4th place, less than a 10th behind Play Dutchy, and only 2/10 behind pole. Like you were saying earlier, it's really close in the championship. To be precise, only 4 points in it at the top of the Constructors' Championships between Team Interrogator Racing and Team BCMR. Tiger and Toussaint versus Dutchy and Bon Evil, the 4 drivers who are all fighting away for a Constructors' Championship. Dutchy still yet to win a championship without the Constructors' Championship, so maybe today, well, I mean, technically it can be wrapped up today if they outscore the BCMR drivers by a number of points. 54, I think. If they outscore them by 54, it's quite a substantial amount. But if they can do that, then they will be Constructors' Champions tonight. The same with Toussaint and Tiger. If they can outscore Dutchy and Bon Evil by 58, I think, then they will be champions tonight, but that is highly unlikely. Both drivers will have to DNF from this race in order to win the championships tonight.
Yeah, that is true, and Tyler's just boosted himself up by 2/10 as he made his way through the final sector. Breaks at the 100-metre board, down into 3rd, just to get the rotation. However, he's using Tim's slipstream, so this is definitely going to be an improvement here. Let's see what happens now as he makes his way through the final corner of the track. Let's see what happens. What time will he do? He'll probably set at the 2-minute 1s here, maybe a 2-minute 2, and it's going to be a 2-minute 2.3, but Finn managing to pull the time out of nowhere, gets himself up into provisional pole.
Really good lap from Finn in the Porsche. Not a car that, to be fair, actually the Porsche might actually do quite well down here. It's got nice handling, decent downforce. It's not too snappy on the rear, so it'll definitely be good through the middle sectors. Turn 11 towards turn 18, the downhill dipper section, which is definitely a really tricky, probably the hardest set of corners on this game, especially at this track. Dan Schneider goes up into 8th place with a 2-minute 3.5, and Webson's improves on his time with a 2-minute 6.7. Hello to everyone who is currently watching in the chat. Hello to BCR Esports. Hello to Sake. Hello Dan as well. Dutchy's a part of Team Interra Data Racing, teammate with Bonnie Evil, currently in second and 5th place in the race. In the championship though, Dutchy has wrapped up and Bonnie Evil is sitting in 6th place as things stand.
Yeah, well, I think let's go ahead and talk about the track, the sectors on this track. So there's 3 main sectors on this track. The sector that's going to either pull a lot of time or gain a lot of time is specifically that middle sector. The drivers got to be careful there, because if they screw up a little bit, it will be costly. And you also have to think of the barriers. There are a lot of barriers on this. One tiny tap of the barrier is either going to give you a penalty or it'll decide to give you damage. So players are going to have to be really careful on that middle sector if you want to nail it in order to get a decent time here. But I don't know, it's all to play for.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those tracks where you can gain and find so much time just by turning in slightly earlier, getting on the power slightly earlier as well. We're seeing drivers coming into the pits off of their medium tyres. Toussaint No goes provisional pole with a 2-minute 2.0, 1.5 tenths quicker than Finn. And that's on a fairly worn set of medium tyres. He'll probably be coming into the pits at the end of this lap. It's going to be interesting to see how much quicker the likes of Finn, Dutchy, Tiger, Bonnie will be going on those fresher mediums. Obviously, as the fuel depletes throughout the qualifying session, the cars are going to get naturally quicker. But if Toussaint's done that on 4-lap-old medium tyres, then we're going to start to see some quick lap times here. I said we were going to be in the low 2s, but we might even be in the highs, and possibly even the mid 1s by the end of the qualifying session. We've just got under 9 minutes left to go, and it's the Brit who puts himself on provisional pole as things stand.
Yeah, things are standing out really good here, but the gap is getting really close. Dutchy's going to have to push him a little bit harder if he wants to try and get himself up onto provisional pole. The current Drivers' Championship leader is going to have to try and up his game there, but yeah, you were right. I mean, everyone in the mediums, if Toussaint and Tiger can pull off them times, especially on the mediums, we are going to see some decent quick laps. And Dan Schneider just on a little bit loose there, costing him a little bit of time. But in terms of the variety of cars we got here on track, honestly, I think the Porsche and the Lexus are going to do well the most, personally, from watching them go around. But the Alfa Romeo is also trying to stay in there, so I don't know. We just have to wait and see with 7 minutes and 50 seconds left of quality.
Yeah, interestingly, I think Dutchy's definitely not in the best car. I don't think the Alfa Romeo is the strongest car at this track compared to the other cars on the grid, like you were saying, the Lexus, the Porsche. 2 cars that I think are probably the best. Maybe even Rick Holt in his Mercedes. It's a really planted car, does suffer a bit from understeer, but the downforce through the middle sector should be enough to keep it under control. And speaking of under control, it's the complete opposite. And Rick Holt has lost it down at turn, 3?
4.
And that is unfortunate for him. Front aero and suspension damage. Currently running in P13, and we'll be looking to try and get a time on the board as quickly as possible as there are more drivers coming into the pits. Dutchy on an outlap, well, after pitting from the previous lap, is about to start his pole attempt and his sixth flying lap in towards turn 1. Too early or too late? Looks like it was just right on entry, maybe even a little bit too early, not really going over or taking as much curve on the outside as some of the other drivers opt to. It's a long straight down towards turn 2, maybe a key overtaking opportunity, and is a 10.5 down on his time. It's going to take quite the bit to gain that through the middle sector. However, it's like I said at the beginning, so much time can be gained and lost at this track. uses all the curb available on exit before going in towards turn 3. Apologies, it was turn 4 where Rick Holt had his off. Hooks it up nicely, close to the inside wall. Going up the hill now in towards the tricky technical sector. This right-hander followed by the left is completely flat out on fresh tyres. It might be a little bit trickier with the dirty air. And Warren Mediums almost brushes the wall there. It looked like he got the Alfa Romeo just a little bit out of shape. Going now through the fast left-hander before approaching the dipper. Let's have a look at the sector time. He's still at 2 tenths down. He's lost another tenth through the middle sector. Hooks up nicely though through the downhill dipper. Turns 13, 14, 15, 16, now 17 in towards Forest Elbow. Does actually hook it up nicely. I thought he was going to understeer off into the barrier. Actually hits the barrier slightly on exit. You can see the sparks flying off. Now down the back straight, approaching turn 20 out of 23. A little uphill kink. Huh?
No, sorry, I was just saying Tyler, he was using a slipstream and budged into the back of him. Apologies, sleep on.
As Bon Evil was stopped on the side of the track, maybe, I'm not sure what's going on there. We've seen that a few times this season, but all has been fine in the past. Approaching the final corner now, and it doesn't look like it's going to be an improvement from Play Dutchy, who's now been demoted to 4th because Tiger's gone up into 2nd place. What can Dutchy do? Can he gain the time back? No, he can't. He's 4 tenths down, but I'm sure he'll be going for it again. 300, separating the top 2.
Yeah, really interesting there. Now the slipstream's going to be a major key for this track, especially down the main straight in sector 1 and sector 3. That's where you're going to end most of the time, and if you can be consistent through that middle sector, that technical sector that you stay to be flat out, you will be able to gain a lot of time. But it's going to be really close. The gap is exceedingly getting close. From 4th to 5th place, it's 5 tenths. But the top 4, yeah, roughly a tenth from each other. So these guys are definitely going to have to pull off a little fight if they want to try and get themselves up into pole tonight. And yeah, I think Tyler improved on his time a little bit. I just want to double check as he's going through about to start the 3rd sector of the track, and no, he just goes down by 5 thousandths, and that's a little bit looser.
And my apologies, I said at the start of the video, at the start of the stream, sorry, that there were 4 points in it in constructors. I've actually just worked it out because I wasn't too sure myself. The 2 teams are actually equal on points, 511 points. By Toussaint and Tiger, Dutchy and Bon Evil, they are equal on points in the constructors going into this penultimate race of the season. So it really is do or die now, with only this race and 1 more to go. We're off to Dragon Trail Gardens for the backwards configuration next week to see out the season finale. But well, at this stage of the championship, every point counts, especially when it's that close. You're equal on points. You have to gain those points in the race in order to make it work. And Tiger Toussaint currently 1 and 2 at the minute. Dutchy and Bonnie 4 and 5. Can Toussaint improve on his 2-minute 2.0? No, he can't. He's 5 tenths down in his time.
Yeah, I mean, every point counts for this. So Dutchy gets himself up and pole out of nowhere with a 2-minute 1.8. A really good time there from the Dutchman, as he seats himself on provisional pole. What can Finn do now? Oh, he was just a tenth down. But yeah, every point's going to count for this race and next race. So it's going to be a close one here, but I'm pretty sure we'll see some very good racing. With 2 minutes left, which Quali would be about to wrap up. Bonnie's just going to the pits there for a fresh set of mediums. But yeah, it should be an interesting one here, Natty.
Yeah, I mean, if you thought the championship was close between Red Bull and Mercedes in real life, we're bringing the action directly from there into the GT Sports side of things between these 2 teams. They've really been going at it all season. Only 1 team has actually won the Constructors' Championship in Group A. Tiger and Toussaint have been dominant from Season 2 onwards since the new Constructors' team's concept, per se, was brought into the league, and they have won it in the previous 2 seasons. They're trying to make it 3 from 3, but well, we're just going to have to wait and see. Equal on points, and well, it's going to go down to the wire unless either driver leaves or disconnects in today's race. It is technically mathematically possible for it to be wrapped up today, But on the form they've been in, I find it highly unlikely. A minute and 30 left to go. So these are going to be the drivers' final laps if they haven't started one already. Duchy with a blistering time in the Alfa Romeo. 2-minute 1.8. I mean, we know he's been quick, but in that car, it's just been so dominant. And at a track like Mount Panorama, you wouldn't expect this sort of pace to come out of that 4C. He's about to finish another one of his laps. Is it going to be an improvement though? I haven't seen the majority of this lap. He comes around the final corner now. Can he extend his provisional pole advantage? Toussaint goes quicker, but not quick enough, and he does. It's a 2-minute 1.8, 200ths quicker than his previous best, but puts him 2/10 on provisional pole. Tiger Assassin now is starting his final flying lap.
Yes, and with Tops is just about to finish his flying lap, just been riding on board with him there, and he's a 10th up in the third sector, makes his way towards the final sector. That's a little bit loose. Plans the rear on that curve. Could we see an improvement here? And we do, but it's not enough to get him an extra position there. But yeah, Duchy is speaking the unspeakable in that Alfa Romeo, a car that is probably one of the lightest cars here on the track, and he's managing to make it work. So honestly, with on the race, it's going to be difficult here to see what happens. But I know it's going to be a really close one.
And the qualifying time is up, meaning we've only got 2.5 minutes left to go. Anyone not on a lap won't be able to start one. I'm trying to find who's going down the back straight. It's Aston F1 currently in 13th place, 1.3 seconds behind Webson's in the Toyota. Can he get off the back row of the grid? We'll have to wait and see. In the Toyota FT1, on the medium tyres, like every other driver on the grid this race, the strategy we've seen pretty much all season. Rounds the final corner for the final time in quali. Can he get off the back row of the grid? Yes, he can. Goes up into 11th place. I'm trying to find the next car who's coming around the final corner. It's Rick Hart in 12th place. Can he move it up a few positions up to the line? Doesn't improve. But we've got some big names. Big names, like you're saying, about to say. Toussaint and Duchy rounding the final corner. Currently in second place is Toussaint. And that's Duchy off. Duchy's off into the barrier. He can't be improved. Can Toussaint knock him off original pole? No, he can't. That is Duchy off in the wall. He won't be improving. Now all eyes are on this man, Tiger Assassin. Can he knock Duchy off provisional pole? He's currently in third place on the second row of the grid. He's had Finn's slipstream for this lap. The dirty yellow in the middle sector. Does he go on to pole position? No, he doesn't. It's not even the front row for Tiger Assassin, the man who dominates at this track. It's going to be starting in third place with a 2-minute 2.0, just behind his teammate. Here goes Piero now around the final corner, and Topster improves. Does Piero improve with Dutch's slipstream? No, he doesn't. But I think for all the viewers, they're going to want to see this. Dutchy's incident on the exit of turn 22. I've got a replay of it now. Let's see what happened. He's gone wide on the exit onto the grass, and he's hit the barrier, and that's how your championship winner crashed at the end of qualifying.
Could I just say, he was 2/10 up in the middle sector. So that was really costly for Duchy. But everyone just about finished quality. I think Ben's the only one still on the pace, Bonnie Evil, in the BMW. But other than that, with 5 seconds left to quality in this race, here are the standings for this current qualifiers. We've got Duchy in first, followed by Toussaint in second, and Tiger in third for the top three. And Matty, as always, you can go ahead with the race start.
Here we go then. It's not round 144. That was just a mistake when making the lobby. We're here for round 14 at Mount Panorama. On the screen now is your starting grid for today's race. One that might be fairly similar at the end. We'll have to wait and see where these drivers can get the moves done. 27 laps here of Mount Panorama, and you can see the headlights lighting up the rear of the cars here on the grid. 27 laps of this track, and it's 6.2 kilometres long. You can hear the engines roaring for the penultimate time this season, and it's lights out, and away we go. But here at Mount Panorama, Tiger's off for a good start to the inside of his teammate. They're going wheel to wheel whilst fighting for constructors. Topster up into 5th place, Tim down to 7th place. Dan Schneider making up a few positions as Bonnie and Tim now going wheel to wheel in the run down towards turn 2. Aston now back down to 13th place. Two Saints maintained 2nd place ahead of his teammate in the run down towards turn 2. As they go down the hill for the first time this season, Tiger sends one to the inside of his teammate. 2 Cents off into the wall, and similar scenes from what happened at Suzuka. The 2 BCMR drivers crashing in hopes for some desperate positions. Tiger's up into 2nd place. Finn now promoted to 3rd place. Toussaint, he's all the way down in 9th place, and he's got some hard work to do as he's now going down the inside of Dan Schneider on this recovery drive. Hence, it's going to be the outside for turn 5 of the Dutchman. Can he make this one stick? Yes, he does, and it's a beautiful overtake. But not the position he's going to want to be in at the end of the first opening lap. Stewards might have to have a look at that one. We'll have to wait and see after the race if anything happens. You can see the sparks being flung up on the outside of the wall as our driver's making a few bits of contact. Gravel being kicked up as well as it's Dutchy leading at the end of the first half of the lap, and 4 tenths between him and Tiger Assassin.
Here we go now. If we're looking in the middle sector, as you can see, Bonnie and Toussaint, Top's looking for a little bit of a scrap. Bonnie sends one down the inside. Well, Top's looking up for the switchback. No, he doesn't. As they're making the way down for the first sector, as you can see there, Toussaint and Tim going wheel to wheel. A very interesting way in the 3rd sector as we make the way down
the 2
now.
leaders, going wheel to wheel. Tiger has got ahead of Play Dutchy at the end of lap 1. Sorry to interrupt you there, but Dutchy now down to 2nd place, and Tiger's up into the lead of this race. Bonnie and Topster now going side by side in towards turn 21. Bonnie on the inside of Topster gets the job done, and Toussaint up into 7th place.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't need to interrupt me there because that was a perfect timing, but as you can see, Tiger leading the way. The king of Mount Panorama, as they say, currently leading the way in this race, followed by Play Dutchy and Zach and Finn in 3rd, but it's still going to get interesting as Toussaint stays out, even though he's not damaged, so that's going to be interesting to see what happens. But meanwhile, Dutchy in the 1st sector, looking very close to Tiger. Is he going to make a move into turn 1? He's going to consider it, but I think he's going to stay back there for now. But yeah, what a start, what an interesting start here at Mount Panorama as the top 2 now, these 2 are going to battle it out in the middle sector. Tiger getting the better exit. Dutchy managing to use all of the curb fins and tuck him right behind these 2. Gonna see what happens as we make the way now into turn 4, trying to keep it fairly clean. Manages to do so, but we should expect to see some moves here. But in the middle sector, Topster and Toussaint, these 2 are going to go wheel to wheel. Toussaint going to send it around the outside, Topster holding it down the inside. Manages to keep that position there, Natty.
Yeah, Topster holding his ground in 6th place at the minute. It's really difficult, if not impossible, to overtake in the 3rd and the 2nd and 3rd sector. I think that was Tim getting a little bit out of shape following Toussaint through the 2nd sector before dropping down into the dipper for turns 11 to 17. So many different corner configurations. Pierre has hit the wall, Topster's hit the wall. I don't think they've got any damage. Thankfully, here's Toussaint closely behind. Is he going to send it into Forest Elbow? No, he's not. He's going to wait for the end of the long straight that leads in towards turn 21. A little kink does count as turn 20, but the chicane itself as turn 21 and 22. Riding on board with your Season 1 champion, he's tugging into the slipstream of the Peugeot, the car that doesn't have the greatest straight line speed. It is lap 2, so all drivers going purple on this lap, and he's gaining. Topster defends the inside line. Toussaint sends one round the outside. Was he too late on the brakes? Yes, he was. He's now cutting the grass, going off the track, and there you can see Topster goes back through. Tim's going through. That might cost him the position to Dan Schneider, who's going to try and go round the outside into the final corner. And yes, he does. And it's come from bad to worse for Toussaint. And I think it might have been that contact. It definitely was the contact down at turn 2 that put him in the position. But he's struggling to regain composure, and the damage as well is not going to be helping. This is not what they want if they are to win the Constructors' Championship here tonight.
Yeah, turn 1, turn 2 in particular was costly for the BCMR drivers. But look at this gap between Dutchy and Finn, really close between them 2. Going to be interesting to see some moves being made quite shortly. But Toussaint still staying out of his damage. He's going to be in the pits for a little bit longer than the rest of the guys when they try and change tyres. But Tiger now is getting in the gap and trying to take the move away from these guys. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, just speaking of the incident, we just had a nice replay up on the screen for anyone who missed the lap 1 incident between the two teammates. The last time they crashed would have been Suzuka in Group 2. We've had a whole car class in between. And Tiger now has his 1.5 second advantage to the lead. He probably would have been hoping for at the start of the CETA race. Dutchy has damage. It's rear suspension damage for Dutchy. I'm not sure if you saw how he got it.
No, I wasn't sure. I was just busy looking at Tiger's lead there. But it's going to be costly now. Finn's getting all the pace, as you can see, right behind the Dutchman. He's going to go for a move. Yes, he is. He's going to send it round the outside. Gets the move done. I don't think Dutchy was even going to bother making that fight. So he's definitely going to go into the pits, try and get that damage repaired and back out on track. But everyone else now trying to get him close. But yeah, this gives Tiger instant lead here as he tries to make his way. And Dutchy decides to stay out.
Yeah, I think he's going to try and stay with Finn as long as possible. Similarly with Toussaint, I think the issue with Toussaint's actually staying out, coming into the pits. And the thing about this track is the cars have about 11-12 laps of fuel in them. So they're going to have to, they can't pit on lap 1, otherwise they're not going to make it to the end on the fuel. They'll be a few laps short, but they have to make 2 scheduled pit stops for the softs and super softs. So that's why starting on mediums is such a big risk, because you have to go to the 2 quicker compounds, which degrade faster, but then you have to do more laps on them as the race goes on. It's not a lot of fuel for Toussaint. You can see they're repairing the damage. Full fuel out on the soft compound tyres. It's going to be interesting to see where he finishes. Obviously pitting early. He's going to have to take the softs and super softs, half the race distance effectively, pitting on the end of lap 3.
Yeah, that's really interesting. The strategy's going to be different now for Toussaint. He's going to have to try and push a little bit quicker and a little bit harder if he wants to try and gain the time. But speaking of time, Tiger now casually losing it as Finn's gaining the majority of the time on the BCMR driver. Well, attempting to, shall we say. As the gap now is exceeding between Dutchy and Finn as he hunts down pole position here tonight.
Yeah, the gap's fairly consistent out in front, 1.9 seconds. We'll monitor it, obviously, as the race goes on. Further down the grid, we have close battles throughout, 6/10 between Tim and Dan Schneider, the battle for 7th place on the track as things stand. Dan is definitely going to be gaining in the slipstream of that Mazda. Riding aboard, you can see how little light is available, just the headlights lighting up the track here at Mount Panorama. Not many lights over the circuits. Is he going to send one from 2/10 back? No, he's not. He's going to be smarter about the decision. Does Dutchy? No, he doesn't. He stays out. Dutchy stays out and doesn't decide to come into the pits. As we're about to end lap 4 on towards lap 5. And Toussaint, he's about 10 seconds behind Aston, 32 seconds behind the leader. So we'll have to wait and see how long a pit stop is when we come round to that scheduled pit stop time.
Yeah, I think pit stops are normally 15-16 seconds. Webson's going into the pits now. He's going to try and change that tyre. But Tiger's up on his time again in the first sector. But the gap now, it's starting to even out just a slow bit. But yeah, definitely have to keep an eye out on P1. But speaking of gaps, as you can see, Dan Schneider now is right behind Tim. Tim going a little bit loose on the rear there. Will Dan Schneider look for a move in the middle sector? Well, we'll have to find out.
Yeah, it's going to be rare if you're overtaking someone in this middle sector, but not rare if you make a mistake like that. Tim losing the rear and demotes him to down in towards 8th place. I just have to check to see if he had damage there, because we'll get a replay up on the screen right now, because it looks like, yeah, he just kind of puts the foot down a little bit too quickly. Hits, scrapes the barrier, finally gets the car in shape, and that's what cost him 7th position. Meanwhile, that gap out in front was 1.9 the last time we were talking about it. It's now 1.6, 1.7, so it's slowly starting to come down. I can't actually see who's got the fastest lap of the race. It's not coming up under the leaderboard on my screen. I don't know if it's on yours. That could be.
It's tied there with a 2-minute 2:09 for the fastest lap.
So we'll get an extra point in the championship if he can keep it by the end. That gap back up to 2 seconds. Wiggly's closely behind Tim after that mistake. The two teammates that crashed in the sprint race of Spa after Wiggly didn't jump the starts, and with the full start check, you have to wait until everyone goes through before you can get onto the power, and Tim couldn't quite see his teammate stranded in the middle of the circuit. That gap though out in front is quite fluctuating quite a bit. It's coming down, going back up, going down, going back up. It looks like Finn is quicker through the fourth and first sector. Tiger just has the edge in the middle technical part, and that gap between Toussaint and Tiger is wrong driver is 30 seconds. He's gained 2 seconds. He's got pace on those soft tyres, but he's going to have to take them to the end of the field, to 12 laps on those tyres, to go 12 laps on the super softs, and that will see him to lap 27, plus the extra laps he's done on the mediums, and actually goes purple. It's a 2-minute 1.1 for your season 1 champion, and he's on a charge to try and recover some points after the lap 1 incident.
Yeah, he's definitely trying. He's gaining a lot of time compared to the others, as you can see in terms of lap times. 2% there, but with a 2-minute one, so that's going to gain a lot of time on Tiger if we can keep this pace up per lap. But the grid starting to even out a little bit. Obviously, Finn's gained a lot of time on Dutchy, but Dutchy does have damage. Bonnie's on a little bit wide. I think Bonnie's going to try and stay behind Dutchy, try and help him out through this portion of the race to see how long he can last there. But yeah, the gap's starting to even out quite a bit. It's just all about being consistent now, because if one messes up, it could change the race entirely.
We'll have to wait and see. Track position as well is vital at a track like this, one that's hard to overtake. We might see drivers saving the fuel in the first stint, just so they can put in less fuel for the second stint, and then come out ahead when the pit stops have been made, which is what makes this season and the strategy decisions that these drivers make. It just makes the third stint the most interesting stint, because that's when everyone's either on low fuel, high fuel, worn tyres, fresh tyres, and they have to close in on each other, and that's where we see all the action. Wiggly ahead of Tim, as what I can only describe as going through a cloud of dirt on the exit of turn 22. Someone might have went off. I think it could have been Dan Schneider who made a slight mistake. And the thing is about these night races, not only are they beautiful to watch, but we can just see their brake discs absolutely on fire. You can see the Lexus here of Dan Schneider. The front brakes are red hot here on lap 7. And well, you were speaking earlier about the gap between Bonnie and Dutchy. Maybe, seeing as Bonnie's been able to catch up due to Dutchy's rear damage, maybe they might do a swap of the two. If Bonnie's quicker, get him ahead of Dutchy and maybe tow him along whilst he has that damage. It could be a possibility. We'll have to wait and see if Bonnie can close down that 1 second gap and challenge for a podium. Maybe even close down to the likes of Finn and Tiger Assassin, who's got a 2.2 second advantage now out in front.
Yeah, the gap between, if we look at the sector splits between Bonnie and Dutchy, I think it's roughly a tenth, as Bonnie goes split just by a tenth there.
Oh, Dutchy's gone wide!
Dutchy has gone wide, just manages to clip the grass there. That's not going to be good for the Dutchman, as you can see on the replay, just clips it a little bit. Obviously I can't see it on the stream because it's a disaster and it's delayed, but as you can see, yep, definitely gets on the grass. So I don't know, just have to wait and see.
Yeah, now 2.7 seconds is Tiger's advantage. He's gained a lot of time on this lap. Dutchy in third place, 7 tenths ahead of Bon Evil. Just looking down the rest of the grid, Tim is now back up into 8th place and ahead of his teammate, now 9 tenths between those two. Saints. Next, Aston's hit the wall, going down the dipper, no damage thankfully for him, but Two Saints next car in front, 8.6 seconds, and it's Rick Holt. We talked about that gap out in front being 32 seconds when he pits. It's now 28. He's on a charge. He needs to make those soft tyres last though for when he goes into the super softs. But when you think about it, he could be in it at the end of the race if he can make the supers work in the first stint. Because if he's ahead on the Warner tyres, it might just be the edge or the gap he needs for him to hold everyone up behind, because it's tricky to overtake around this track. It's practically Monaco with a Baku straight. Not the longest straight, the one that's easier to make an overtake on, unlike the ones at Monaco. So track position is important. It's just how can Toussaint get himself back up into this race?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the times between Tyler and Toussaint, it's Toussaint that's actually gone quicker. Toussaint doing consistent 2-minute ones, whereas Tyler's doing consistent 2-minute twos. So that if he's roughly gaining a second or two a lap. As you can see, the gap was roughly 9 seconds when Ricard were across the line. It's now closed down to 7.6 and still continuing to close the gap. So it's going to be an interesting one here. But like you say, he's definitely going to have to try and keep them softs out. Going to have to try and use the majority of the fuel if he wants to make sure his strategy gives him a chance at that pole here.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen at the end. We're only on lap 8 of 27. Almost a third of the way through the race. We'll just have to complete one more lap to make that milestone. Meanwhile, an overtake that could happen for third place. Bonnie on his teammate Play Dutch. Are we going to see team orders? Looks like team orders are against Bonnie Evil today. Actually, I was going to take that back. Just giving him the extra nudge down the straight, but pulls up alongside in towards the kink of turn 20. Can he make this one stick round the outside of turn 21? Just backs off earlier on the brakes. Maybe Dutch was a little bit too late. We'll have to wait and see now. On the exit of turn 22, Dutch is going to get Bonnie's going to get a slightly better run, having broken earlier for the previous corner. Stays behind going into the final corner, but I'm pretty sure we might see an overtake down at turn 2. But team orders for constructors might get in the way of that one. The gap between Dutchy and Finn is 2 seconds. I wonder if they think Bonnie can go quicker on those mediums without a damaged car.
Yeah, I think Finn just clipped across there, as we've seen, because I've just seen a little bit of brown smoke from the back of Finn's car. So it looks like Finn's trying the mediums are starting to go a little bit off. But if we look at the fuel, Tyler is being the most consistent in terms of fuel, as it looks like he's got the majority of the fuel. Bonnie and Toussaint, Bonnie and Dutchy, sorry, they're roughly on the same. Pierro's lost quite a bit of fuel. Topster's got a little bit more than Piero, but speaking of Topster, he's gained a lot of time on the Frenchman and looking for a move there soon. But speaking of moves, here comes Tim and Dan Schneider. These guys are going to battle it out for 7th place.
Just got a replay of Tim doing a beautiful move round the outside of turn 2. That is one to watch on repeat. Gets his way up into 7th place. Now 6.3 seconds behind Topster. He's going to want to pull out a gap over Dan Schneider, otherwise he could be fighting back that position for 7th place, but doesn't want to push too hard so that he makes a mistake. He's already closing that gap to Topster, currently running in 6th place, replacing Thunder for tonight's race, but a beautiful move from Tim there. Now up into 7th place in this race.
Yes, Dutchy also went on the grass twice in that middle sector, so he's starting to lose a little bit of time because of that damage. But it's going to be an interesting one, but beautiful move there from Tim into turn 3 or 4, I believe. But Dan Schneider is getting a lot of time on Tim, so we could see a move getting done here. As we're now right on board with Dan Schneider. Dan Schneider tucks in right behind Tim, as you can see. He's going to look for a move, he's going to think about it, he's going to send it. Will he send it? Not quite, but first person in the pits right now is Finn.
So the undercut attempt from the German was running in 2nd place, promotes Dutchy and Bonnie onto the podium positions. Topster is going to be under a little bit of pressure from Piero. Was Piero always? I thought Piero was ahead. He was ahead of Topster going into the final corner. Does he run too deep or go wide? He runs wide at the final corner, just looking at the replays, and that's all the invitation Topster needs to get past and up into 4th place on the track, but could be demoted back down to 5th place when all the pit stops even out. Dan Schneider close behind Atom Grin, currently running 2nd place in the championship for his team, him and Wiggly Style. I think they're 3rd in constructors. Darren Schneider running, I can check where he is in the championship. I think it's a 8th place, sorry. Gets a little bit loose on the rear going up the hill. Drifting his way. I think those medium tyres are starting to go off the cliff slightly.
Yeah, and Toussaint now makes his way up into 9th place. Just manages to get past Rick Holt now, roughly like a second or two behind Wiggly Style. Yeah, it's roughly 1.2 8 seconds behind Weekly Star, so he's gained a lot of time. The gap between Tiger and Toussaint last time we checked was like 28 seconds. It's now 24 seconds.
So he is closing the gap, but we've got to remember he's going to be on those worn soft tyres when everyone's on the fresh soft. So he's going to have to take them quite the distance, plus the laps on the super soft that he's got to do. So he's going to be in a tough position, but we've seen his pace in the past, and he was able to qualify in second place. So there's no doubt that he hasn't got the pace here. He's now closely behind Wiggly Star going through turn 20. He might try and send one down the inside and towards turn 21. He's gaining. Wiggly defends the inside line, breaks later than the Brit. Dutch and Bon Evil are both into the pit. It was too late for Wiggly Star, who's off at turn 20, and he's now off into the gravel and is going to fall into 9th place. Might concede the position to Rick Holt as well, but he's just too far behind to go up into 9th place, but gets up into 9th place because Wiggly comes into the pits.
And Toussaint, with the pace of a lifetime, has boosted himself up into 4th place there, managing to get past Dutchie, Dan Schneider, Bonnie and Topster, but this is going to be very costly now. Toussaint needs to work on this strategy now. He's going to figure out, right, what do I want to go on next? He's obviously going to have to go on the super softs, but could we see a potential, well, maybe an extra 1 or 2 stops from him? I don't know, it's just going to be tough, I think.
Yeah, well, it's a minimum of 1 more stop for all the guys who have pitted. It's a 2 stop still for everyone who's on the mediums, having to use all 3 compounds of tyres that we've implemented for this season. Finn is 28 seconds behind Tiger Assassin and pitted 2 laps ago. You wonder if he's going to get this undercut on the soft tyres. He's gaining on Rick Holt, so he might get held a little bit or affected by the dirty air through the middle sector. Dan Schneider coming out very closely behind Wiggly Star, both pitting for the soft tyres. Aston actually opting for a set of the super softs on the end of lap 10 until lap 11. So Aston trying something different in his hope to try and finish ahead of Websons in the championship. And will we see your race leader come into the pits at the end of this lap to react to Dutchie and Bon Evil? You'd think so, but we know the drivers have their strategies planned out, and Tiger does come into the pits, and I'm going to assume it's for the soft compound tyres.
Yeah, so the gap for pit stops was roughly 14 to 15 seconds total, maybe 16 seconds, depending on what happens. But it looks like with the pace getting provided by Finn, we could see the potential undercut. Is it going to work? Is Tiger going to come out into the pits? Tiger's in the pits now, just changing the tyres, and Toussaint now pushes himself into P1. Could we see Finn getting the undercut here? It's going to be close, as Tiger's going to put in all the fuel, and yes, he does get that undercut. So Finn's now in 2nd place. What a move done by Finn.
And just waiting to confirm, because the pit exit comes out on the exit of turn 1. There you go. Finn promotes himself up into 2nd place. You can see the gap's 2.8. Will start to rise slowly because the momentum through turn 1. Tiger has lost out here. He's now 3 seconds behind your effective. Well, he's technically in 3rd place. 2 seconds up into the lead of the race. Meanwhile, I thought we saw some overtakes. It was just the drivers on the leaderboard flicking positions, as Tim's actually going to come out beside his teammate. Tucks in behind for now. Is Dan Schneider going to have enough momentum to gain down the straight? I don't think so. Tim, though, is going to slot into 9th place on the soft compound tyres behind his teammate. So Tim being undercut from Wiggly Star. Maybe we'll see some more undercuts for the 2nd stint. We can, if you're being undercut in the 1st stint, and we can see the time that Tiger's lost, maybe drivers are going to have to, quickly adapt, pit early off these soft tyres and get onto the super softs quicker than the driver ahead or behind if they want to stay in front. The undercut in this game is super powerful.
Yeah, but this is an interesting strategy now for Toussaint, because he's on 1 soft, and with 25% left of fuel, this could be interesting now, because we need to find out what tyre Toussaint's going to go on next. Is he going to go for another round of softs, or is he going to switch to that super soft compound?
I'd imagine he's just going to take the super softs to the end. He's going to probably take these softs to the end of the field and probably pit on lap 15 for the super. Actually, no, he pits now So
it's,
what tyre is this going to be for? It surely can't be the supers, because with the fuel's not going to go to the end.
Yeah, it's not going to be enough. I think the supers can roughly last 5-6 laps. But Toussaint now making his way into the pit and yeah, just losing a few positions. But what a comeback from Toussaint. We're just going to see what position he comes out on as he's entered the pits now. What tyre compound is he going to go for? As the fuel now goes into the car, and looks like where will he come out on top? It's going to be quite close. But currently the leader now is Finn, as Toussaint now is exiting the pits. Where is he going to come out of? He's going to come out right behind Piero. So wise choice there. He's gone on the softs again.
Yeah, so there is another stop for Toussaint to make in this race. He probably wasn't comfortable taking the softs or the super softs the extra distance he needs to in order to make the two-stop work after pitting at the end of lap 3. It's going to have to be a mighty drive for him to make up the time lost. Not saying he can't do it, it's just the overtaking around this track is definitely going to prevent him from doing it easily. 14 laps to go, 15 if you include this one, and 20 seconds to your race leader, who is now FGR Finn, after making the undercut. Well, making the undercut work, I think, is the only fair way of putting it. Having fixed the damage to the rear of his Alfa Romeo, Duchy is now behind Bon Evil, running in 3rd place, and as things stands, it looks like Team Interrogator will be gaining more points on BCMR in the crucial Constructors' Championship. Someone's round at the exit of the Dipper, and it's Dan Schneider, who's got big engine damage, front suspension and aero damage, and we're going to get a replay for you, ladies and gentlemen, to see exactly what happened. I think I've taken this one a bit too far back. We're nowhere near the Dipper yet. We've got a few corners yet to go. Here we go, then, the start of the Dipper. Let's find what happened, and he just gets onto the grass, and well, that's what caused the initial spin, and then I think he might have lost it further down. Oh no, that's just lost it on the before the Dipper, sorry, not even on the Dipper, running wide, and hugely unfortunate for him. Piero battling with Toussaint, and Piero's gone off at the exit of turn 12. He's cutting the grass and rejoins behind the Brits. I don't think there was any contact, but I will get a replay to confirm it. Dips a wheel on the grass on the entry of the corner, trying to maximise the entry of the corner, and that demotes him down into 7th place.
Yeah, it was quite unfortunate there from Piero, but that does not mean nothing for Toussaint. Gets himself up into 6th place now. Now he's going to be gaining all the time to try and catch up on the top 5 to gain some points, but the Constructors is going to be close. At this rate, if the drivers stay as they are for the rest of the race, we could see Duchy and Bon Evil come on top in the Constructors at the moment, but with 13 laps to go, including this one, it's still all to play for.
And it is Finn getting the better of Tiger Assassin so far. The lap times may say otherwise, but it's about position at this stage of the race. 3 seconds between the two. They both have... Well, actually, Tiger's got a lot more fuel in the car, so we're talking about the undercut. Finn has, yes, he has pit early, but maybe Tiger's just putting a little bit more fuel in this stint, so he doesn't have to put in as much when he goes onto the super softs. It's going to be a closely contested battle for the lead of this race. Anyone, I think, within the top 6 could technically still claw it back. Toussaint is, he's still in it, he has the pace, he's going to be quicker at the end when he's on the fresher super soft. He's 20 seconds behind, and he's going to have to gain about 5/10 a lap to be in contention, but it's not impossible, and if anyone can do it, he is definitely one of those drivers who could make it work here at Mount Panorama.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a close one here. Not really. It's going to be tough, especially for the top 5, because these guys have pace. So it's going to be a challenge for Toussaint if he wants to try and make himself up into the top 5. But when he was at the start of the sector 3 straight behind Topsy, he was roughly 6 seconds behind him. He's roughly now 4.8 seconds, so he's managed to gain a lot of time here. So if he can gain this time and the consistency, he will have a chance to get in pole here.
Yeah, only time will tell at the end of this equation, and at the minute it is Finn who is the answer to that one, currently leading this race by 2.5 seconds But well, at this stage of the championship, Finn can only fight for pride in his final position. It's the drivers have been wrapped up, and I believe it is only the front two teams who could win it. And as things stand, Tiger in second place actually brushes the wall, claiming 24 points. Bonnie claiming 21, Dutchy 18 for the second, third and fourth. And Toussaint gets 12 for sixth place. That actually might be fairly close, if not even on points. 12 at 24 is 36. 21 at 18 is 39. So it's close between the two. At the end of this race, it was the finish as it is. There's only going to be 3 points in it. If Toussaint finishes in fifth, Dutchy, Bonnie and Tiger Assassin all where they are, they're going to be equal on points again going into the final race of the season, I believe. Toussaint though does have the fastest lap, so will put the team 1 extra point ahead.
Yeah, he's definitely getting a lot of time on top still now. 3 seconds the lap is, so it looks like that next lap moves are going to be getting done for the British driver in the nice Lexus there, representing BCMR. But yeah, the gap now between Tiger and Finn is slowly shrinking by roughly 2 seconds. It's now 2 seconds now. So the Tinder Panorama might still be on top here tonight.
We'll have to wait and see who's got the strategy nailed. Tiger was 6/10 quicker on the last lap than your current race leader. Bon Evil actually putting a gap to Dutchy behind, 1.6 seconds between the two. Dutchy's fastest lap is 6/10 off of Toussaint's fastest. So I've now got the fastest lap time on the screen. Toussaint's clawed that gap down to 3 seconds. Sorry, he's purple through the first sector, albeit turn 1 in the straight, but he's 19 seconds now behind the race leader. He's gaining time on the leaders, crucially all that he needs for a good result. In the constructors, running a special livery hasn't been the most special of days here so far, but there's still 12 laps to go in this race. Anything can still happen, mistakes can still be made. Just trying to see if there are any close track battles. We've got one here between the two BHR teammates, Wiggly Style and Tim, separated by no more than 3/10 of a second, both on the soft compound tyres. Tim running in second place in the championship so far, has finished second place in the fourth in the past 4 consecutive races, as to his 6th in total throughout the season. Hasn't actually finished third place on the podium. Will be looking to try and make his way up there today, however running in 8th place so far in this race. Not the best position he's ever been in. Maybe a track that doesn't suit his car or his driving style. We all have those tracks that we like and don't like, that we're quick and we're not quick at, which makes a diverse calendar a really interesting one to see different cars, different drivers performing at different circuits.
Yeah, that is true. But Toussaint now is just right behind Topster. A 2 second gap. Toussaint managed to find roughly a second more than Topster here for the battle for P5. But it's going to be close in terms of the constructors. 10 laps to go here at Mount Panorama. Things can change in the next 10 laps. But it looks like we might see a draw for the constructors here tonight. We're just going to find out.
Yeah, if only this was the final race of the season with the points as it is. But stay tuned for next week's race at Dragon Trail Gardens backwards, because if it finishes like this, then the constructors, there's definitely going to be a fight down to the wire. And, well, if they finish 1, 2, 3, 4, the order will determine how they finish. They cannot finish equal on points, because it will be Dutchy and Bon Evil who will win the Constructors' Championship if they do finish equal on points, based on the fact that Dutchy has won at every track but 2, those 2 being Brands Hatch and Alsace, where he was in the lead until he crashed. So in theory, probably from a driver's perspective, should have won every single race this season. He's currently running 4th place for now, but that's what's going to make this championship so decisive at the end of the season. Could it come down to wins in the championship? Could it come down to little mistakes? Could it come down to collisions like Suzuka? Or I can say Suzuka again, Borny not finishing that race and the two BCMR drivers crashing. Those little errors can make such a big difference at the end of the equations. But it is Toussaint who has closed the gap to Thompson. Now he's doing everything in his power to gain as much points back for the team as he can. He's now a second behind, and you'd think he'd get this move done as soon as possible. He doesn't want to be behind that Peugeot for long.
Yeah, that is true. I was just thinking my mic wasn't on me there. But right now, if we're looking between Dutchy and Bonnie, it looks like team orders is going to be applied here, as these guys are going to work together to stay behind. Dutchy flashing the lights there. Will Bonnie let Dutchy pass? And he does. But the penalty is going to come into play. Dutchy needs to still get rid of that second penalty. I think he's had that for the start of the race here at Mount Panorama, but the gap between Toussaint and Thompson now is 5/10 between each other, so we're definitely going to see a move being done here, particularly towards the final sector. We just have to wait and see. But Tiger as well gaining roughly a second on Finn. The gap's now 8/10.
And it's definitely going to come down to these overtakes. As if it finishes as it is, well, I'll wait until Toussaint gets ahead of Topster, because he's definitely closing that gap. We'll struggle to make an overtake through the upper section of this track, known as the middle sector, the third sector as well, including, you can see there's no way past that Peugeot going up the hill before approaching the downhill dipper, turn number 11. And he's going to be wanting to push as much as he can to get this move done as quickly as possible, so he can try and close down the gap to Bod Evil, which is 10.7 seconds.
Yeah, this is really costly, and now Toussaint and Thompson are going to go down the third and final sector of the track. Will he look for a move? He's going to consider it. Toussaint now right behind Thompson as he made the way down. They're going to go wheel to wheel into this high-speed section. Who's going to come out on top? It looks like it's Toussaint who's going to come back on top. Will Thompson look for the switchback? And he's thinking about it, and he's going to go for the move now. Will he send it down the inside? Doesn't manage to get the move done, which means Toussaint now pushes him up into 5th place. But Finn is going to go for another undercut, so it's still all to play for.
Was kind of forced into that move with no fuel in the car, only 2 litres to go. But with Finn leading the race, imagine Finn is still up there. If it was to finish as it did then both teams will be equal on points going into the final race of the season. Tiger and Toussaint would have been scoring 24 and 15, which adds up to 39. Dutchy and Bon Evil scoring 21 and 18 adds up to 39, and both drivers being on 511. Well, if you add 39 to both of them, they're going to both be on 550 going into the final race of the season. Obviously, all the top 4 being promoted an extra position as Finn's come into the pits. Meanwhile, Tim is now putting alongside the German on his pit exit. Can Finn maintain the position? No, he can't, and that's not what Finn wants. He's now behind Tim, who's on the soft compound tyres, hasn't pit for the super softs. Finn needs to get ahead of Tim as soon as possible if he's to get the lead of this race back, because when Tiger pits, he's going to be putting less fuel in the car. Not what the German driver would have wanted.
Yeah, it is true. But so far the gap now between third and second is is roughly 9.5 seconds. So Toussaint's gaining a lot of time here, trying to be fairly consistent, as you can see in terms of lap times. He's doing 2-minute 1s, 2-minute 2s, whereas his teammate is in the 2-minute 2s now. But this is still out to play for. Both drivers still need to pit, as this is going to be an interesting fight for
Finn's got damage.
Constructors.
Finn has got damage. He's got front suspension damage. I've got to get a replay up on the screen to see what's happened. He's gone a little bit late on the brakes. No, he hasn't actually. He's been able to keep that nicely. Where's he got the damage? And it was a snap of oversteer midway through the dipper, and he's got bumper damage. That might be the gift that BCMR need if they're to crawl back points on their championship rivals. Finn has to stay out. There's no other alternative. He's not going to want to lose these points that he's worked so hard to gain. The leaders all stay out. Apart from Tobster, he's into the pits from 5th place. What does Finn do? Does he pit Does he stay out? I think he should stay out, and he does stay out. On those super softs, with the damage, this is going to be close. He needs to push that damaged Porsche as much as humanly possible if he is to make this race his. It's going to be close.
Yeah.
Mistakes can still be made from the cars behind. It's not over till it's over, as they say.
Yeah, not over till it's over, you are right about that. But if we're looking now, Dutchy, there's in 2 seconds worth of penalties. I don't know how he's done that, Natty, but it's going to be very costly in terms of podiums here and points for these drivers. He's also running low on fuel as well as Bonnie, so both of the interrogator drivers are going to have to get themselves in the pits and get that sorted. But meanwhile, Tyler still leading the way, fairly consistent in this race, as we might see a pit stop done from all 4 of these drivers. But Toussaint now trying to push the car as much as possible, as he's in the battle for P3, as the gap now is also dropped by 2 seconds. So it's now on 7.5 seconds.
Yeah, Toussaint is closing that gap. We'll be into the pits again for the super soft tyres. Might be in probably the next lap, I would think. He's probably still got another lap left worth of tyres and those softs before he can take the super softs to the end and still get the maximum amount of time out of those tyres. Tiger Assassin's into the pits. What about Play Dutchy? Follows him in. Bon Evil does come into the pits as well. You'd think so. Thought so, sorry, with the fuel lights being on. Toussaint actually follows the top guys in, and that Tiger with the most amount of fuel is probably likely to come out and extend his lead. But can Finn, with the damage and the mistake he made a lap ago, has he got enough? Has he done enough? Has he worked hard enough to try and keep this? He's been pushing so much in this race, and it's evident in the lap times and the performance. But Tiger's out of the pit. No, he's not. He is out of the pit, sorry, in the lead of the race.
Yeah, but will Finn be able to
Oh,
get
Tim's
enough
off!
time?
Tim's crashed in the pit lane.
Oh, that is going to be very costly.
On-board replay to see what happened. He's gone backwards into the pit lane. He's got picked up the rib damage. He's reversing into the pits, and that is so unfortunate. Finn, though, has come out in between Bonnie and Dutchy into 3rd place. A race that is now Tiger's to lose, and the points that have changed drastically in constructors. With 6 laps to go, 6 seconds to 4th place for Toussaint to close. The race is on.
Yeah, it's 6 laps to go. The king of Mount Panorama stays on pole again. Will he be able to make another podium here in Mount Panorama tonight? As you can see, the gap is extending between Dutchy and Tiger in this scenario. Tiger roughly getting a second or 2 quicker than Dutchy. But the battle for P3 is on, is now. Will Finn be looking for moves on Dutchy here? Remember, Dutchy still has that 8-10 penalty, so he's definitely going to have to get rid of it, making sure the fair is clean as no damage is done. And the battle for P2 is on between Dutchy, Finn and Bonnie Evil.
Tim getting ahead of Rick Hart up into 9th place after the mistake when approaching the pit lane. Just looking down further throughout the field, Aston kind of in a field of his own, 15 seconds ahead to Dan Schneider, 15 seconds ahead of Webson's, currently running in 12th place. Not quite last, but will still be crucial points in their team goal to get over 100 points this season in the Constructors' Championships. One driver running in 12th, the other running in 6th place. Topster in for Thunder tonight. Might be a permanent replacement. We'll have to wait and see if Thunder is joining back for next week's race. That gap out in front is extended to 10 seconds. However, whether Tiger will keep the lead at the end, we'll have to wait and see, because post-race penalties might come into play depending on what the stewards say about the lap 1 incident. Finn has conceded the position to Bonnie Evil, who's now up into 3rd place. The damage definitely not helping the Porsche get up to speed. Piero's into the pits for a set of the soft compound tyres from the Super Softs. I thought he went onto the softs in the first stint, but I must be wrong. Being on the purple tyres, apologies. Actually, no, I think this is another stop for Piero. Looks like he pitted on lap 16, and he's now into the pits again. Unless he took the mediums that far, I'm not too sure.
You just have to wait and see what tyres it comes out
Wait.
on. I think it's going to be the Supers. resulting Tim getting in front of him. As he comes out into the pits, what's he going to be out? He's not going to be out in the super softs again. So he might have pitted before the rest.
So,
No, that would make sense. That would make sense because he pitted early on the mediums, then he went onto the softs until like laps 13, 14, and now he's gone out on the super softs twice. So he might have went for a different strategy.
might be trying something new. Could be trying to go for fastest lap as well and disrupt the constructors' fights happening out front. I'll recalculate the standings as things are. Both teams even equal on points. Tiger's going to be scoring 30 points, and Toussaint at the minute running in 5th place will be scoring 15, bringing the team up to a total of 45. Meanwhile, Dutchy running in 2nd place, that's 24. Bonnie in 3rd place, that's 21, brings their total up to 45. It's almost like the points were made for equal drivers to score as many as each other, as both drivers will be even on points as things stand again. Tiger, though, does have the fastest lap, so it means that Tiger and Toussaint will be 1 point. 1 point in front going into the final race of the season. And if you haven't seen a close Constructors' Championship before, well, this is what it's like, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Toussaint has the fastest lap of the race, but it doesn't matter all too much because they're all part of the same team. It's the question, though, can Toussaint upset the Constructors, gain 3 extra points and go up into 4th place? The gap 2.5 to Finn.
It's definitely going to be close here between these two. The gap is slowly disintegrating. It's slowly closing in now, but the points is going to change. Dutchy or Bonnie Evil is going to have to do something if they want to get this point advantage between these two. As you can see, both drivers working together, trying to gain as much time as possible on these guys. But yeah, Tiger now just flying with colours through the final sector, as it's been fairly consistent throughout this whole race, so we just have to wait and see now. But meanwhile, the gap between Toussaint and Finn is dropped. It's dropped now to 2 seconds and counting, so we could see even more points getting added for the BCMI drivers, which could push themselves up into the lead of the Constructors.
We will have to wait and see. The damage to the Porsche is definitely costing the pace that Finn's been able to extract out of the car, but it's doing a stunning job, currently running in 4th place as things stand. And
now go past Dutchy. Sorry about that.
I was going to say Finn's best result of the season so far has been 2nd place at Suzuka. Only 2 podiums for the German this season. The other one at Sardinia A. In Group 2, hasn't finished on the podium in Group 4 or Group 3 yet, but it's still got 1 race to try and finish on one of those 3 steps. But he's going to be under pressure from GT Sport Champion in a few seconds' time. The gap now 7/10 of a second, and with a damaged Porsche, I don't think this battle is going to last very long. Toussaint also on the quicker, fresher tyres. Well, I'd say quicker, they're both the same tyres, but the fresher tyres making them quicker. Don't think it's going to last all too long, but he's gained at an awkward moment on the track, not really close enough to go for a move in towards turn 2, and well, it's going to be a long middle sector for Toussaint, as he's going to be stuck behind Finn. Not many overtaking opportunities until you get to turn 21, so that's 20 corners he's got to go through behind the Porsche, unless he goes through any substantial, desperate late lunges. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, but can we take a moment to appreciate Toussaint? With all the battling and damage he had in the first stint, he's gained a lot of time, so he hasn't really let the Constructors down. But like you said, the steward is definitely going to have a look at the situation between Tiger and Toussaint, as will Toussaint now going into the 3rd sector of this race, a tricky sector to get right, the tricky downhill sector. As you can see, Finn is just right behind. Well, right in front of Toussaint. Is Toussaint going to look for a move? Not quite, as it's going to be the run down towards the final sector. Here we go now, is Toussaint getting all the time on the wall. When he look for a move, he's going to get all the slipstream, and he does. He's going to send it around the inside, so it's going to be wheel to wheel. Who's going to come out on top? It looks like Toussaint is. unless Finn can do something in the next corner. Looks like his 2 cent are still going to come out on top. Will Finn try and make the move? Who's in the breath later? It looks like 2 cent is, and 2 cent pushes himself up into 4th place.
Yeah, with the front damage costing Finn the straight line speed he needs to defend the position, concedes 4th place and will find himself in 5th, 8 seconds ahead of Topster. As we end at lap 24 at the start, 25 of 27, 3 laps to go. The final 3 of the penultimate race of the season, and one man who's led since the opening lap. After a little bit of controversy down at turn 2, finds himself leading this race as he's much done for the majority of this one, and flashbacks to season 2 when he dominated pretty much from start to finish. Bonnie has got ahead of Play Dutchy. Doesn't really matter between those two. Dutchy's won the championship, and these two both in the same team fighting for the Constructors' Championship. 5 seconds separating Toussaint and Dutchy, but with only 3 laps to go, I don't think there is enough time for him to close the position. Never say never. Mistakes can be made, damage can be given. Time penalties can also be awarded. We'll have to wait and see it. Dutchy with a 5/10 penalty. If Toussaint can close down to a second behind, the Dutchman will finish ahead as penalties round up to the nearest second. We'll have to wait and see though. This race is definitely going to go down to the wire. Tim's into the pits with damage, and he's going to come out onto a set of super soft tyres, repair the damage, not put in any fuel, and he could set the fastest lap of the race on the fresh tyres and low fuel. And if he does so, if it finishes like that with Tim with the fastest lap, BCMR and Interrogator Racing will go into Dragon Trail Gardens equal on points in the Constructors, and then will we have a championship fight on our hands.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be close for these guys, but the point is going to change everything here at Mount Panorama. There's only 2 laps to go. Tyler keeping fairly consistent throughout the whole race, no questions asked about that. He might gain himself another podium here at Mount Panorama in the GT Sport League Group A, shall we say. But yeah, everyone else is keeping it fairly consistent. As you can see, Toussaint now trying to gain a lot of time on Dutchy. I don't think there's going to be enough with 1 lap to go after this lap. But Dutchy's going to have to make a mistake if Toussaint wants to get himself on the podium. But I was just looking at the live timings there on the monitoring the timing, and it looks like the quickest person that came out on top at the minute was Toussaint in sector 1, turn 1. So it's going to be costly, and time is going to be key if he wants to try and get on this podium here tonight.
Yeah, he was the second fastest in quali, and after the turn 2 incident, he's been able to fight it back. Rick Holt into the pits with damage. He'll probably go into another set of super softs, and he might try and go for the fastest lap of the race as well. Yordi in the chat asking, what about the Constructors' Championship? As things stand, Tiger and Toussaint scoring 45 points, Bonnie and Dutchy scoring 45 points, and they're already equal on points, which means they will stay equal on points, but Toussaint has a crucial fastest lap, which will give them an extra point going into Dragon Trail Gardens, meaning that they will be 1 point ahead going into the final race of the season, as if it was to finish as it is now. But we've got a quick finish driver, second place in the championship, down in 10th place, who could snatch an extra points away, going for fastest lap had the damage. He's purple through the first sector. Currently, could Tim make the championship fights go equal on points going into the final race of the season? Tiger comes around the final corner to start the final lap of the race, but all of our eyes are focused in on this finish driver to see if he can put an upset into BCMR's day.
Yeah, he's making his way now through the middle sector. As you can see, Finn trying to gain all the time in the world. Will we see a potential purple middle sector? We'll just have to wait and see. Trying to keep flat out through this tricky technical sector. Here's the wall a little bit. Could be costly in terms of time. Will he improve on sector 2? It's going to be close, and he does by a 10. So this is going to be very costly now. Making his way into the 3rd sector, going down this tricky technical sector, hits that barrier, touch. This is going to be very close now. Will Tim be able to gain enough points here as he's making his way now through this fast down straight. Will he be able to get enough time on Rick Holt, try and use the slipstream as he's making his way down? Will it be a purple third sector? We're going to have to find out here, and that is he's making his way across this third sector split. Will it be close? It's going to be close, and it's not quite just by 3 attempts, but he's just going to improve on his time. But now, riding on board with Tiger for the last time here at Mount Panorama, keeping it fairly consistent throughout the whole race. It looks like Tiger once again keeps his crown and becomes the king of Mount Panorama here tonight.
Tim rounds the final corner. Does he go purple? He's run wide in the final corner. Can he put an upset into the championship? Not quite, as he starts his final lap of the race. Therefore, unless anyone can have a final twist in the tail here at Mount Panorama, Tiger Assassin's fought his way to the front of the grid, literally and physically fighting his way to the top step of the podium. After the contact with his teammate on lap 1, he got past Play Dutchy, your championship leader. He's done everything in his power to gain points in the Constructors' Championship, and for the final time, round the final corner, there's a special livery on that car because he wins here at Mount Panorama and maintains the King of Mount Panorama trophy and picks up 30 points in their Constructors' fight. Meanwhile, it's been a good day at the office for Team Interrogator. Bon Evil finishing in second place ahead of Play Dutchy for the first time this season to claim a second and third place finish. Two Saintmore finishes, one in fourth with a crucial fastest lap. It's been a stunning recovery drive from the Brit, but nothing he can do to avoid the incident down at turn 2. Finn finishes in 5th, followed by Topster in 6th, and as things stand, 1 point will be in it in the end of the championship going into Dragon Trail Gardens. One crucial fastest lap next week could determine who wins this championship. The majority of fastest laps this season has been won by Play Dutchy, but those fastest laps have been the fastest laps that have been keeping them in the championship. Wiggly Style narrowly beats Piero to the line, 7th and 8th place for those two guys respectively. Rick Holt, though, he could be on a purple lap time. I haven't seen his lap. He came into the pits 2 laps ago from damage onto a set of super softs. Could he make the two championship contenders go equal on points? For the final corner, for the final time, can Rick Holt set the fastest lap time of the race? It could be close. No, he doesn't.
It's not. It was so close. I mean, the points are going to be close now as Tim makes his way across the line, running low on fuel, as a very slow time for Tim, as he is the last driver coming across the track. But wow, what a race here we've had. Here is your grid for the race, and once again the king of Mount Panorama here at Gavra Racing gets himself up into the podium, and next week is going to be a very interesting fight.
Definitely. Just a reminder, it is not round 144. As you can see, there was a mistake when I made the lobby, misclicked and forgot to change it for the race. Tiger Assassin, though, picks up his second win of the season, his first since Alsace in Group 2, followed by Bon Evil, his first podium of the season, in fact, claiming second place ahead of Play Dutchy, who takes his third of the season. Toussaint on a recovery drive after the turn 2 incident with his teammates, finishes in 4th place ahead of Finn, who was looking like he could have won this race had the not picked up damage going down the dipper down at turn 15 actually. Topster finishing in 6th place in the Peugeot for Thunder tonight, followed by Willie Stein 7th, Pierre in 8th, Rick Holt in 9th, and Tim in 10th place, the first time he's not finished on the podium since Interlagos. Aston gaining points on Webson's in 11th and 12th place, and Dan Schneider finishing in 13th place, retiring from this race. That brings an end to round 14 and the penultimate race of the season. Wow, it definitely makes things interesting going into the final race. They're no longer equal. 1 point separates the two constructors, but which one's going to come out on top? Let me know in the comment section or in the comments down on YouTube. Make sure to join us next week, same time, same place. I don't know if, Dan, you're going to join me for that. We'll have to wait and see.
Oh, could be. I could do. But yeah, join us next week for the final race here in GE Sport Group A. we're at Dragon Trail Gardens backwards. Will Tiger stay, have one last podium? Will the BCMR drivers have one final collision? Or will Play Touchy and Bonnie Evil get their head out the game and go AWOL as they make the way towards the podium? But I think that's all we have time for. I think CPR are just doing donuts just to finish it off. But yeah, I think that's it. So from me and Natty here in the commentary box, it's a goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to miss it. Next week, stay tuned for Dragon Tail Gardens. Goodbye.